Today's video is a fun one. It is a chicken themed fall video, and it's part of the Everything Crafting collaboration playlist that I host every other month with my sweet and dear friend Katie from Lady Red Crafting. If you haven't checked out her channel, I really encourage you to do so because she is like the decoupage queen. She can decoupage like nobody's business, y'all, and she is amazing at so many other crafts as well. And she does a newsletter too, a really cool newsletter. So y'all sign up for that, go check out our channel and check out our video and show her some love. But our guest host this month is Dawn from Shabby Meets Bling. And the thing I love, well, I love a lot of things about Dawn, but she can turn things that she finds at the thrift store and stuff like that into like amazing DIYs. I'm like, I don't even know how she thinks of some of these ideas, but I'm going to have Katie and Dawn linked below. I hope you check out their channels and show them some love. But let's get into the DIYs for today. Y'all, Mead and Art was so kind to send me to try out some acrylic soft body paint. And I've never really heard of soft body paint, but apparently it's it's like acrylic paint, but it's more fluid and blends better. So I'm going to be using that for the first DIY that we're doing today. And it has so many beautiful colors, and so far I'm loving it. Before we get to playing with the Mead and Art's paint, I need to give my project a coat, and I'm using Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in the color Milk Jug. It's kind of a pinkish kind of, or yellowish kind of. It's not white. It's definitely not white. So because I'm having to paint on my floor because the surface, my desk area is not large enough for this, I put down some packing materials, just some brown craft paper to kind of protect my floor. And then I had to kind of goop it on because the chalk paint just gets goopy. It's not very pliable, you know, I added a little bit of water to it, but I didn't want to water it down too much. Anyway, I used 4 signs from the Dollar Tree. I used one that had a little kind of half circle there in the middle, and then I just used 3 regular signs. And like I said, I'm just giving it a good coat of paint to get started. And that's what we're working with so far. That's how it's looking. And no paint got on my floor, so that's a good thing. I am tracing out a D shape, the letter D. And you think, well, why'd you have to trace it out? Oh, that's what I did, because I like to use templates. So I cut that out, and I'm using that as my template for my painting. And like, I'm doing stacked chickens, 3 stacked chickens. And you don't have to do that. If you feel like you can freehand it, by all means, freehand it. And I'm using one of the colors. I wish I had written down the exact colors that I used, but I did not. I am so sorry. But they're really pretty paints. And I'm just using a sponge that I just cut down into a square shape, and I'm going to be making a border with it. My idea was like to use do a checkerboard border, but I didn't. I don't know what happened with that. I just end up just doing this like random squares every, it's not even a checkerboard pattern, y'all. I don't know what you call it. Anyway, so I used various colors of the Mead and paint, and it spreads so easily. It's not goopy at all. And I just love how it was applying. So I'm painting the chickens different colors. And that one is orange. And then I'm also embellishing each chicken just different ways. I had really no rhyme or reason. I didn't even have like an inspiration pick or anything. I was just kind of doing some abstract art. So I used a purple color, and I'm doing some lines, and then I'm going to do kind of a plaid pattern, but not really, but like I'm adding 2 lines like going up, and I just used my paintbrush for this, one of the ones I had on hand that I used for paint. I did get out a paint marker, several paint markers, because I just thought it'd be faster and easier, and I'm adding an orange beak to each bird, and then the little, I should have looked up the names of the stuff, but the little feathers on top, and then the little red thing under their chin, and then also, I should be adding their tail feathers. I'm using a black paint pen to outline the chicken, and I'm not worried about if I went outside the lines, as you saw me do there. I like the illustrative kind of cartoonish look to things, and that's what I like. So you do you. If you don't like it, you be more precise with it. And then I added the feet, and I'm not really sure how chicken feet look, so I was just making that up. On there, I'm adding the tail feathers, and just kind of outlining and defining stuff. Oh, and then I decided to add little dots on this one. I don't know why. I was just doing some random stuff. So I did 2 signs, and this is how it turned out. So the idea is that it's going to go on my front porch, but it was raining all day today, or most of today, and so I wasn't able to go hang it outside. I mean, I think they turned out cute. I like how they look. You know, I like how they look. I don't know what else to say. Okay, so for the next project, I had these maple leaf shapes from the Dollar Tree from years ago, and I put a wet rag on top of it and let it soak for a few minutes. And I found this is the easiest way to remove that paper. And so I removed all the paper, and then I let it dry, and then I added a coat of Mod Podge to each maple leaf that you see there. And then I got this paper. I'm in love with this napkin, and I have a couple, and I actually have one left over, so I'm probably going to save it. But when you have napkins and you're going to decoupage, you need to remove that. Only have one layer of napkin. Okay, that's what you got to do. So the way I like to do it is I paint the surface that I'm decoupaging with the Mod Podge, let it dry fully, and then I add whatever I'm going to be adding decoupaging on top, and then I use parchment paper, and I use my little Cricut. No, it's not Cricut, but I use a little heat press like that, a little mini heat press, and that reactivates that Mod Podge underneath. And y'all, it works like a charm. I do not ever have any wrinkles or anything. So I'm just cutting away the excess paper, and I did save the rest of it because this is the cutest napkin I've ever seen. But here's where I and I use a finger sander or an emery board or like a nail file type thing to get in the little crevices and the cracks and grooves of this little maple leaf shape. But where I messed up was I meant to use, here's how it turned out. I meant to use some of that meat and paint as a base layer first because this turned out a little bit too dark for me. But I love it so much. I just love those chickens. I am just so into chickens right now for no reason. I don't have chickens. I'm not even allowed to have chickens where I live. So I don't know. I just like chickens. All right, here's another project. And this is a round wood circle that I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just placing down some painter's tape. And I'm using burnt umber. I happen to know this color. It's burnt umber from that Meeden soft body acrylic paint that I have. And I'm using that, and I really love this color. I think it looks really good. And then one of my favorite parts of a project, I love a good tape pull. That clean, crisp edge, it looks good. So we're going to decoupage. And it's the same idea as before. Make sure that you only have one layer of napkin that you're using. And I'm just deciding where I want to put it, where I want to place it. And I'm just cutting it down to size. Not being super precise because I know I'm going to put some twine there. But you put a coat of Mod Podge down, let it dry fully, and then you put the napkin on, and then you put parchment paper to protect it, and then you just use your heat press. And it's reactivated by that heat press, that it reactivates the Mod Podge. And then I'm just taking away the excess, and then I'll use my finger sander, or like I said, you could use a nail file, emery board, or whatever, and then just in a downward motion, I sand off the excess paper. And y'all, it gives such a nice edge. It works really, really well. And again, I don't have any wrinkles in that. Why am I showing you the Mod Podge now? We already did it. It's already done, Lisa. Anyway, this is how I was doing the Mod Podge. Okay, so I wanted to add something on top because this is going to go on my front door. And I don't know if you know, but I've been practicing lettering, trying to get some like faux calligraphy skills, and I'm not trying to do it like professionally or anything, but I want it to look nice. So I just write the word hello, and then I'm taking my little glue gun and some leftover twine. It was probably the twine from the side. And I am just adding a couple layers of twine to the side. I just think it kind of finishes it off and covers up the edge where I decoupaged and I painted. And that's how it turned out. Like I said, I'm hanging it on my front door. That's why I've got the 2 strings coming out the top. But look, that napkin is I just think it's so pretty. And Katie from Lady Red Crafting sent it to me. I love it. Girl, thank you so much for this. This just makes my heart so happy. All right, last project. I'm learning and teaching myself how to paint chickens. And there's lots of ways you can do it, but the letter D chicken is the easiest. It's kind of what I did on that first sign, but I'm making a letter D with water. I love to do the wet on wet technique. And yeah, now watch the red. Just see, it just kind of blooms and spreads. It just looks so magical. Anyways, so I put down the water first in the shape of a letter D, or I guess a half circle if you, you could think of it that way too. But then I just add some colors that I want. You can add any colors you want. It doesn't have to be, quote unquote chicken colors. Because what is that even? Chickens can be whatever color. So I put yellow, and I put red, and I put blue, and then I'm just adding a little orange for the beak, and then I'm adding 2 legs at the bottom, and then we're going to add a little bit of grass. I just use some green paint, just kind of swiping to make it look like he's standing on something. He or she, could be a girl, could be a boy. I don't know. I can't tell. I guess a boy would be a rooster, right? Okay, so clearly I know so much about chickens. Anyways, I'm adding the things on the head. Feathers, I guess they're feathers. Those are tail feathers, right? So I'm adding the tail feathers, and then I am adding, I'm outlining with my, what kind of pen is that? Anyway, I'm adding the, outlining the chicken with my Stabilo pen. It's not waterproof, by the way. So if you get it wet, it'll bleed. Anyway, I just finished it, and I added a little wing shape and some little detail to the grass. Here's how it turned out. I think it turned out super cute, y'all. I am just obsessed with watercolor. I have a ton of other watercolor videos that you can check out on my channel if you'd like. And I just appreciate so much you joining me today. And don't forget, I've got links in the description box below. Don't miss out on all the other awesome creators, especially my friends Katie with Lady Red Crafting and Dawn from Shabby Meets Bling. Thank you guys for joining me on this little collaboration playlist. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to follow me on social media, my handle's OurGrayHouse, but just don't follow me in real life though, because that's creepy. Bye!